looking smarter than ever, JC Penni. You're looking smarter than ever, JC Penni.
We weren't recording any of that. We just talked for like 25 minutes to start our podcast, and it wasn't recording.
Are you sure?
I mean...
How sure are you right now?
Well, it's saying stop now. We had so many good points! Oh my lord, I'm gonna die. Well, this makes it on the final cut. We'll talk about this. Bloopers and bleepers. We're gonna have outtakes. Hey, JC Penni, we're back with the Week 1 podcast. What's going on, guys? So we actually recorded. We didn't record it, but we had just talked for about 20 minutes about some of our top 3, bottom 3. So this is gonna be a lot less surprising. You're not gonna get our, at least for the start of it, you're not gonna get our initial reactions because we talked for about 20 minutes just now.
Yeah, we're just gonna have to make the same points over and over again now, and it's not gonna be a surprise because there was like multiple points where we were both like, really?
Yeah, we reacted. We'll get to.
Sean turned down a slap bet. It was a huge thing.
We did have a $20 bet. We're gonna reenact later on. Anyway, we'll get to all that. So today we're gonna talk about the top 3 teams in the draft from each of our perspectives. The bottom 3 teams in the draft. The biggest steal, the biggest reach, the biggest risk, and also the biggest loss. You know, we had Zach losing Lamar Miller. We had Jason Smith losing, obviously, not only Andrew Luck, but maybe...
That was fucking hilarious.
So,
I was sitting in a bar when that news broke. It was awesome.
The best part was the fact that it slow-rolled Jason Smith losing draft value for the second year in a row because you had Zach losing Lamar Miller first, and you think, oh, that's the Jerick McKinnon pick this year, and then Andrew Luck retires. Retires, of all things.
It was a pretty big surprise.
So we're going to talk about the biggest loss of the season, and we're also going to have Week 1 predictions. So let's get right back into it for the second time.
Okay, let's start it off here.
Pick your first of your top 3 teams of the draft this year.
Okay, I'm gonna change it up. I'm gonna do it in no
You're
particular order.
surprise me?
I'm not gonna surprise you. I'm gonna start where I already was. I'm just not gonna tell you what my first team is first to start it off this time around. So surprisingly, I'm going to throw Sean's name as one of the top 3. I really liked his first 5 picks.
I want you all to know, I was shocked by this because I don't have me in my own top 3. And so for him to say that, I'm flattered. I really am.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm really happy with the first 5 picks. I think Leonard Fournette in the 4th is actually going to be a pretty big steal. He obviously had an amazing rookie season last year. Like I said, I think he mixed 6 or 7 games. Adding Nick Foles into it, significantly better quarterback than Blake Bortles. He'll actually be able to not be running against 9 men in the box every single time he's on the field. Julio's Julio. I'm not the biggest fan of Nick Chubb. I'm not down on him, but I'm not nearly as high on him as you were. You know, at the draft, 1,000-yard in 8 games. Those are very skewed statistics. He played 16. He got starting carries in 12 of them. I mean, one game he had 160 yards on 2 carries. Which, don't get me wrong, obviously shows that big play potential, but it's when over 10% of your yards from the year came on 3 carries. I don't know how
it's
long
term. It's the Jay Ajayi effect.
Yeah, I don't know how long. That sample size is actually relatively small. Like I said, I like Nick Chubb. I think that he is going to be a stud. I think you could have gotten somebody a little bit better there, but I'm not mad about the pick.
Here's my thoughts on my team, and I am happy with how I drafted overall. I have me kind of in the middle of the pack. But I loved the one positive thing about the 10 and 11 turn was that I was able to get, I think, 3 guys who have strong RB1 potential in Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, Leonard Fournette. I think every one you can make a case could be an RB1, a top 10 RB at season's end. I think Julio, again, you know what you're getting there. And
Aaron Jones is still one of those ones where if they, Matthew Berry's been saying for years, free Aaron Jones. If they, let him run loose, which in that offense, he should never face an 8-man box in his life.
Right.
He should, in theory, be a top 10 running back in that offense, for sure.
Yep. And you saw flashes of it last year, and I think, after that point, I just basically tried to get high upside wide receivers. I think I got a bunch of them. I also don't hate the picks of, Hunter Henry and Matt Ryan where I got him at the turn. I'm Matt Ryan. I think will end up. He always finishes. It seems to be in the top 5 QB situation.
Like I said, he has his MVP year. I don't know, man. Matt Ryan, he tends
wasn't he top 5 quarterback last year though too?
I'm not exactly sure what he was last year. I feel like Matt Ryan does one of 2 things though. It's either he's league MVP level of play, or he's Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
I mean, he has these like huge swings in seasons, and
he's not as consistent
this might
as
be
you'd
enough
like.
different. I mean, the fact that you can be having the combination of Matt Ryan to Julio Jones is gonna look good when it's happening and they're clicking. Obviously, he's gonna get his yards. The big thing is whether or not he's gonna get the touchdowns.
That's fair.
Again, I wouldn't hate your Matt Ryan in the 8th. I still think is a little early. I mean, but that's just obviously looking at me. I took my first quarterback in the 12th. I wasn't huge on drafting quarterbacks early for sure, and in general, it was kind of like I know someone else is going to be out there. Something we talked about the first time around. You guys didn't get to hear it, but Drew Brees and Russell Wilson, both top 10 quarterbacks last year, undrafted.
That's so crazy.
It's crazy. Like Drew Brees, I can almost understand. He fell off a cliff at the end of last season. I don't understand how Russell Wilson didn't get drafted. 2 years ago, Zach literally beat me in the playoffs because Russell Wilson decided to drop 30 points in the fourth quarter of a game. It was bullshit.
To quote what Fantasy Pros I think always do on their podcast, I have a lot of shares of Russell Wilson in other leagues this year because like it seems like in every league I'm in, he falls to like the 13th or 14th round, and it's like I'm absolutely fine having Russell Wilson. He'll be like right around the end of the QB1, and honestly, aside from like Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. Do you see any of these? I mean, Aaron Rodgers too.
Aaron Rodgers is still there.
Yeah.
I mean, Deshaun Watson was.
But there's not that
like,
big of a drop off between.
No, there's not, and that's why does anyone like? Share of hands. Do you know where Ben Roethlisberger finished last year?
I'm actually looking up Matt Ryan right now too. Matt Ryan was the number 3 quarterback last year
in our settings because
that's standard PPR. Sorry,
I was gonna say not in our settings.
That's
I know who number 3 was. It was Ben Roethlisberger.
Well. Ben Roethlisberger in PPR scoring was number 9.
I looked at based on our
in standard PPR.
I mean, are you just looking at
our
website? Because if you go to our fantasy website, it actually.
I'm gonna let you find it. Anyway, going off of the quarterback conversation, though, I'm going to talk about one of my top 3 teams, which is the defending champion Alex. I think one of the best picks of the draft, and I might be talking about it later, is Cam Newton in the 12th round. Cam Newton in the 12th round. I was looking at Cam Newton in like maybe the 8th, maybe the 9th even. Like he's a guy who, if he stays healthy, again, you talk about a dynamic threat. He's gonna get touchdowns year after year. The mobile quarterback thing, like the Deshaun Watsons, the Cam Newtons of the world, are the cheat codes of fantasy football.
So
you have a quarterback running back hybrid who can get extra touchdown and running potential.
In general, I would agree with you. I literally won my title on the back of Cam Newton. Having said that, he has been banged up. He's taken more hits than any quarterback in the last 10 years. I mean, Deshaun Watson's probably going to break that record because he was on his back like 80 fucking times last year.
Yeah.
But Cam Newton at the end of last year, they had to take him out on a Hail Mary because he couldn't throw the ball 50 yards.
Yeah.
He had the shoulder surgery. He comes back in the preseason. What happens? He immediately hurts his ankle.
He's always banged up.
It's like he's when he was younger and he was 6'5", 220. He was built like a giant running back who could throw the ball.
Shall we call it the Andrew Luck effect?
I mean, it might be. I'm not big on Cam Newton. Cam Newton in the 12th, is that what it was?
12th round.
I'm not mad about it in the 12th round.
Not at all.
I took Ben Roethlisberger in the 12th round. I'm not mad about it at all, getting him there in the 12th. I'm also just saying, like, I'm not like I'm going to be sit here and, like, thrilled having Cam Newton over X replacement quarterback you could have gotten in round 12.
Talking about, by the way, quarterbacks who have been injured a lot and then decided to retire. We talked about how the fact we don't feel bad at all about that.
I don't feel bad at all about that. I mean, it was... Again, another one of those spots. I think the 8th round is just too early to draft. Unless their name is Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers, maybe Deshaun Watson. If you're drafting a quarterback before the 8th round, you deserve to have your quarterback retire.
Well, and what's great about this is it was the slow roll of Zach. Like, I made that post on Facebook. Yeah. Zach getting the Jason Smith, Jerick McKinnon, lose a player, an early pick award for Lamar Miller's ACL tear, and then Andrew Luck retires. When have you seen a player retire in the preseason like that?
Like a week and a half before the season starts, he just decides.
A starting quarterback on like an arguably playoff team.
He just got paid like a year and a half ago.
And to be fair though, like respect for him because he's the player at the end of the day. Like, and he went through injury.
I don't have any problem with him making the decision he made. It's fucking crazy to think about.
It's wild.
Not also, that I want to get too off.
There are probably kids watching this podcast. Don't fucking curse.
God, I hate you sometimes.
All right.
Not that I want to jump away from the top 3, bottom 3.
Also, I didn't even talk about Alex's team. We really kind of got sidetracked there. I just wanted to say,
Sorry.
No, it's fine. We get into these tangents. Devontae Adams, we dissected that pick a good bit before. Sorry, you guys didn't get to see it.
Oh, yeah, let's go over that again. Devontae Adams.
I don't hate it there.
I love the player.
Number one wide receiver consensus in fantasy
If you were
right
the
now.
8th pick, I'd have been like, wow, you got him almost like at a like you have to take him.
I'm fine with
4
Devontae
at
there.
4?
It's a little early, but I'm fine with it because he saved it with his running backs. In my opinion, I'm big on Dalvin Cook this year. I don't hate Mac as much, even with
Dalvin Cook and Dalvin Cook, another running back that's been injury prone. Marlon Mack,
but he has huge upside.
Marlon Mack literally is splitting time with what's his name? I can't even tell you his name.
Mac's the guy. Mac's the guy.
Mac is the guy.
And
where did he finish last year?
And here's the thing: David Montgomery, Latavius Murray also are guys with big potential, in my opinion. Latavius Murray's not stepping into the Mark Ingram role in New Orleans.
What is that role for him though?
Touchdown. I mean, he's gonna be a vulture. He's gonna be the vulture. He's gonna
Mark
get
Ingram
touchdowns.
didn't really vulture that many touchdowns from Alvin Kamara.
He was the goal line guy. I mean, I do like Latavius. I like Dave Montgomery. I think his running back core is solid overall. His wide receivers, obviously, you can make a case, are, I love Jarvis. We talked about the Jarvis Landry pick earlier. I love Jarvis Landry with OBJ. You're talking about a guy who, they're going to double team OBJ a good amount. And anytime you're double teaming OBJ, not to mention you have to have the box pretty decently stacked against Nick Chubb. Baker Mayfield's going to be throwing to Jarvis Landry in the slot, and you saw...
I agree that I like Jarvis Landry in the ninth. We talked about this.
Jarvis Landry was a Pro Bowler with
really
Ryan fucking Tannehill.
I'm just saying, we were on fire in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's really disappointing.
It's really throwing us off because we had so many good points. No, but Jarvis Landry in the ninth, I love it. I don't understand how he fell that far, especially in a half-point PPR format.
Huge
It was a great pick.
Huge pick.
I don't understand how it fell there. But it is what it is. We already talked about it. OBJ is going to be taking the top off the defense.
Absolutely.
Baker Mayfield is much more of a precision thrower than he is a over-the-top thrower.
Well, second half of the year, too, he was on fire.
No, he can play. I'm not arguing that he can play. I'm saying, but what was his big thing coming out of Oklahoma? Accuracy.
What's
he going to do? He's going to be hitting Jarvis Landry on those. And then you have Nick Chubb. Again, that's part of the reason why I said I liked your team. Nick Chubb, I'm not mad about. Like I said, I don't think I would have taken him at 10. I'm not mad at the pick because he's never going to see an 8-man box.
Nope.
It's not going to happen.
Nope. Not with Jarvis Landry and the LSU boys in wide receiver spots.
That's what I'm saying. And honestly, you know who one of the better... I don't want to jump around too much. We're kind of doing that. I know we kind of had this little format. But I really just want to give a big fuck you to Brad for taking David Njoku in the 10th round. Pick.
Huge upside. Here's the only point about Njoku. And I do have some shares, the Fantasy Spurs thing. I have some shares in Njoku in some other leagues. Here's my only thing about that. If you're talking about OBJ is going to have Baker Mayfield thrown to you, so he's got high upside. Jarvis Landry's got high upside because he's got OBJ and Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's got high upside. Baker Mayfield's got high upside.
This might be another fantasy season. No, here's the thing. There's not a limit because look at last season with the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah.
Todd Gurley's the number one running back. Brandon Cooks is I think he finished at 12 or 13 in PPR scoring. Cooper Kupp was a top 15 wide receiver until he tore his ACL. Even Robert Woods started getting touches at the end of the year.
Yeah.
There are enough mouths to feed if you're running your
Cleveland
offense
Browns
correctly.
Be the Los Angeles Rams? Can they
replicate
that?
I don't think that. I don't think it will be replicated. I think that it could be the Rams light. There will Rams light. There will be
this episode of the JC Penni Podcast brought to you by Rams Light. When you want Todd Gurley but you're stuck with Nick Chubb, go for Rams Light. We'll do ad reads like that. Jeez. All right, hit me with another top 3 team because we talked about one apiece. We're 13 minutes in and we've talked about one team so far apiece. The 3-hour podcast.
Okay, yeah, I know you're not going to agree with me. You're going to call me you're just going to think I'm pumping.
Go
myself
ahead,
up, but
stroke yourself. I've heard it before.
I can't say that I don't feel like I have a top 3 team. Just going down my roster.
Go ahead.
Ezekiel
I'll
Elliott.
let you roster bait.
Ezekiel Elliott, top 5 running back. Todd Gurley, number 1 running back last year. Adam Thielen, top 10 wide receiver. Brandon Cooks, like I said, he was at 12 or 13. Cooper Kupp was a wide receiver 2 till he got hurt. Mark Ingram, now going to be the starting running back on a run-heavy offense in Baltimore.
I do like Mark Ingram.
Austin Eckler, going to be the starter this year with Melvin and
I like that pick too.
Out. Dede Westbrook, number 1.
Love that pick.
Number 1 wide receiver in Jacksonville. And Nick Foles, like I said, he threw 10 passes in that last preseason game. 7 of them were to Dede Westbrook. He wants to get him the ball.
You have a strong case for the best 6 to 8 round draft in our league. week. I mean, hands down. And I love all three of Ingram, Eckler, and Westbrook. Westbrook, there's a lot of talk about Big Dick Nick, like, loving D.D. Westbrook. Like,
yeah, no, that's what I'm talking about. No, like I said, that freaking preseason
Big Dick Nick loves D.D.
10, he threw 10 passes, 7 were to Westbrook.
Yeah. I mean, here's my problem.
The volume will be there because he's also a slot guy.
We talked about this too, and I'm gonna bring it back up. I hate to keep ripping this Band-Aid off, but the reason I didn't put you in the top 3, you were. If you look right here, I said fourth.
You had me,
and I moved you down
fourth. I know,
because of Zeke, and you
understand.
of all fucking people should know the risk associated with using a first round pick. And I get it at 7. It's the right time to pull that trigger. If you want to have this
conversation about Le'Veon Bell last year at 1, fine.
It's
7.
7's the right time to pull that trigger.
I have to take.
I'm not disputing that.
It was the same thing. I know
you didn't want to do it either.
I didn't want to do it. No, it's not that I didn't want to do it. I will say that it was. I didn't expect to have to do it.
Yeah.
And then it was there, and it's just like, can I not do it? At that point, it was like,
there's no way getting around it.
Like I said, it wasn't like I didn't want to.
Who do you have to choose from? Nuke, Connor, Chubb. I mean,
if you want to know who I was honestly going to take, like. With the way I expected the drafts to go, I was expecting David Johnson to fall to me. And in situations when I know Brad had said like he almost never fell to him at 6, so why would I think I'd get him at 7? All of my mocks he was falling to me at 7. And in the mocks that I say all, the majority of my mocks he was falling at 7. When he didn't fall to 7, I was taking Todd Gurley at 7. And then on the turnaround,
that would have been a reach for Gurley, but I do love where you got Gurley at.
And so, like, I was expecting on the turn to take Tyreek Hill, which is why I'm surprised Tyreek Hill fell to 20.
Yeah.
It's like, it was blowing my mind.
We're going to talk about that later.
We are going to talk about that later. But, no, I feel like at 7, I had to pull the trigger on Zeke. At 14, I had to pull the trigger on
I'm not saying it's wrong, but what I'm saying is...
I could have 1-2 running backs this year.
You could, and you could also have a Le'Veon situation repeat, and you are the Sacco right now.
Here's the thing. Le'Veon's situation will not repeat.
Every 5 seconds, there's a new piece of breaking news with regard to Zeke. Zeke is... They're in contract negotiations. Zeke is upset that Jerry Jones said they have plenty of running backs, and fuck Ezekiel Elliott. Like, it's the same stories.
I will say that it has jumped around. The most recent thing I've heard is that they're close, but they're probably not going to get it done before week 1 because why do they need to get it done before week 1? It's already Monday. What, is he going to play on Sunday?
But every week that he's... And here's the thing.
But if he's prepping this week, he signs on Thursday, he misses week 1, he's back for Washington in week 2.
Cost-benefit analysis. I do think Zeke is more likely to sign than Melvin Gordon. But
Melvin Gordon is done.
I don't know about that yet.
No, they literally said they will not discuss his contract until after the season's over.
It's stalled. We'll see how they're... I mean, here's the thing.
They said they're not discussing his contract. He can seek a trade.
They did say that, but there was also the Chargers... Winning is a powerful thing in the NFL, and the Chargers have a lot of people saying they should make the playoffs this year. If they stumble early...
Of course they should. They were 12.
That's going to get the GMs back in the negotiating room with regard to the Melvin Gordon situation. But the bottom line is... I just think that pick is too risky right now for me to give you top 3. If we are having this conversation a week from now and Zeke is signed, I will put you at top 3. But until then, it's just too much risk associated with it to put you in top 3 definitively.
That's part of the reason why I had to reach for Tony Pollard. I will have the back.
You did reach hard there.
Like I said, there was a run on backup running backs. I had already lost my backup to Todd Gurley. I felt like I needed it. I feel like it was the right decision.
Let's talk about one of my top 3. Which we talked about earlier. I'm going to mention the same one I mentioned earlier. James. I thought James had, in terms of the top 5 picks, he is my, I don't think he made any mistakes out of his top 5. And obviously, you can't make a mistake at number 1 with Saquon.
Saquon is fine.
He didn't fuck that up.
Tyreek Hill dropping to 20
is great value.
Perfect for him.
And I don't hate Mike Evans Tampa Bay. Mike Evans Tampa Bay.
I didn't like the Mike Evans.
Mike Evans Tampa Bay.
That's just me. I mean, honestly, I think I like Keenan Allen more there. But then Keenan Allen dropped 5 fucking picks.
At the 40-41 turn, Chris Carson and Stephon Diggs both are guys who I think are starters. I mean, I think they're plug and play guys every week.
They're gonna be starters again. Stephon Diggs is somebody who, talent-wise, should be the number 1 wide receiver there.
Yeah, he's amazing.
But he's just not. And Thielen gets all the numbers.
Yes, but again, it varies. There's always this variability with regard to those kind of high skill cap receivers, right? It's like your team with Cooper Kupp and Brandon Cooks. Any given week, one of those guys could put up 20, and any given week, one of those guys could put up 5. I think the same thing happens with the Vikings, but I think there's less variability there because I think they're both, generally speaking, getting numbers.
I mean, Cooper Kupp and Brandon Cooks were both top 15 wide receivers last year for Cooper Kupp.
That's true. I mean, and
the numbers were there for them. I mean, I actually don't know where Stephon Diggs landed last year at the end of the year. Like, what was he? Was he a wide receiver too? Like, where did he end up overall? I feel like he wasn't super high.
You'd have to look it up. But I know one of the things you had mentioned while you looked that up is, one of those things that James, one of the few things he struggled with was that
Stephon Diggs was higher than I thought.
Yes. What was he at?
He was at number 11.
See, that's what I'm saying. And that's a guy who finished number 11 at wide receivers. Easily could make a case he could finish top 10 if targets don't fall his way.
And Adam Thielen is a stud.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know how, why, but that's why.
But one of the things James struggled with that you said was the handcuff situation where he kept getting these handcuffs and throwing picks.
That's my biggest problem with his team overall is an enormous lack of depth.
Yeah.
Chris Carson at 4. If you want to take Chris Carson at 4, I'm not even that
Great
mad
pick.
about it.
I love it.
I don't like it as much. Again, it's another one that I probably wouldn't have taken. You know what I definitely wouldn't have done? I wouldn't have taken Rashad Penny 2 picks.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done that either.
That doesn't make it just doesn't make sense to me.
What it shows is you don't have faith that Chris Carson's going to be the guy, and I get it because it's a 4th round pick, but still you have
to take a backup in the 6th round.
There are guys available at that point. Look at who's on the board.
Tell me look who I got in the 6th round.
Well, no, this is the end of the 6th round. So if we're talking about you got if Austin Eckler's on the board there, that's a better pick, I think.
At the time.
I'd take D.D. Westbrook over him.
I was going to say at the time I would have rather had Lamar Miller.
Yeah.
Knowing what we know now, you dodged a bullet, James. But no, Josh Gordon is there, Austin Eckler is there. I mean,
even if you want to grab one of the tight ends, maybe, or I
really didn't like the Rashad
Jericho
Penny
Connor,
pick at 6.
DJ Moore. I don't know.
So I will say one of the picks that I really, really liked from James is Darius Guice in the 9th round.
Yeah.
I said, Jay Gruden is hyping him up. He looked good in preseason last year before he tore his ACL. Jay Gruden wants him to be a 3-down back.
We've seen guys. In Washington like Alfred Morris, and other running backs.
But I think he's way more talented. He's a much better passer. Yeah. I love the pick at 9. And then he turns around, and I hate taking Adrian Peterson at 11. It's just
shoebox Cavs.
That's a great pick.
In 2012.
It's just, it doesn't make any sense to that quickly grab the, I guess if you're really that worried that, hey, he tore his ACL early preseason last year, I don't want, if something happens, I want to have the backup. But
so we've hit 2 of our top 3. Round it out. Pick your last one.
I don't know.
It is hard. It is really hard to separate at this point, a team you see is above the rest.
The funny thing is, I probably would have thrown Darryl and Nick's team in there, but now that Melvin Gordon looks like he's not going to play, it's such a huge one.
I was talking to him. I was texting him about that a little while ago, and he was just saying he's got the potential to be a top 10 pick. It's he also has potential to sit out the season, and you've thrown away a 4th round pick on him, and a fairly early 4th round pick on him.
Yeah. And something you just said a few minutes ago, you loved my rounds 6 through 8. I think I dislike his rounds, Darryl and Nick's 6 through 8 picks more than anyone. Tevin Coleman might be the 3rd running back in San Francisco.
Yeah, between
Matt Breida and Jerick McKinnon might come back. Who knows where Tevin Coleman's going to fall?
In an 8-team league, he was my 14th overall or 14th round pick.
Yeah,
I didn't get 18 leagues are a joke, but still,
I didn't get the Tevin Coleman pick at 6.
Jared Cook is way too early.
He's a trash tight end. Sorry, guys. Jared Cook is not good at football. He's bad.
I would have taken Vance McDonald over him probably.
Again, I just think it's just too early to be taking a tight end. Not that I love my tight end, but Eric Ebron at 11, he was the number 4 tight end last year. I didn't want to take him, but it was at the 11th it made sense.
How does Jacoby Brissett change that though?
No, it obviously changes that. Obviously, that was basing it much more on the idea of having luck.
Right.
But I'm saying
the ripples of the retirement.
I liked the value at 11. If you took Jared Cook at 11. I'd again be you took Jared Cook at 11. At 7, it just seems too early. Baker Mayfield, again, I like the weapons. He throws more picks than I would like. I get it. He was a rookie. He's gonna get better.
If Darryl isn't, and
I just think he could have gotten Baker Mayfield in the 10th.
He did. He made some decent picks though. I mean, obviously
6 to 8. I feel like
his 2 wide receivers. He's got the best wide receiver core in the league in all likelihood. Coupled with,
his top 2 wide receivers. Obviously, he used his first 2 picks on wide receivers. They're going to be the better end.
And Devontae and Sony Michel are good picks.
Devontae Freeman, if he can stay healthy. I agree. It can be really good. I had Devontae Freeman last year. I think I got about 6 minutes of play out of him. It was garbage. But he no longer has Tevin Coleman
The
stealing
hurt-
any carries from him.
the
So
hurt
I
with-
like him a little more because of that too.
The hurt with his situation really is that he doesn't have that running back depth. Like, other than Sony, or with Melvin Gordon now.
Sony
other
Michel
than
is a weird
Sony-
one because you got Rex Burkhead, you got James White. Like, you have people.
But I know I'm big on Sony this year. I think he's got.
No,
you saw what he could do in the playoffs.
No,
not the fantasy playoffs, but the
I
NFL
like,
playoffs.
I like his upside. I think he's the most talented running back there.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
The New England Patriots have proven it doesn't matter if you're the most talented, particularly at the running back position.
Again, with Tom Brady getting up in age, I know it's Tom Brady, so it's Tom. He's going to get his numbers, but at the same time, I think Sony Michel, if you saw what they were doing in the playoffs, they're going to try to replicate that as long as they can. I could see Sony Michel legitimately being an RB1 at season's end. A low-end RB1, but an RB1.
I mean,
and
if he ends up as an RB1 and you got him in the 5th, that's great. I think it's like it could just as easily turn out that Sony Michel ends up as...
Well, one injury could derail all that. And he's on a tightrope with his running back situation. So, but is he going to be... Are you saying he's top 3?
I was saying, like, if Melvin Gordon was 100% a starter, I feel like I would put him towards that range. Because if he was 100% a starter, okay, you have Sonny Michel, Melvin Gordon, Devontae Freeman, Michael Thomas, DeAndre. Like, that's 5 people you're putting into your starting lineup who you're very comfortable putting out there.
So I didn't have...
But Sonny Michel being your second, and then who's your flex there? Is it Tevin Coleman?
So
is it Emmanuel Sanders?
Yeah,
Larry Fitzgerald.
He's in flex hell.
I just don't know who he puts into his flex.
A lot of homer picks for them this year too.
With
Baker Mayfield,
obviously Baker was going to be a homer
Emmanuel
pick.
Sanders.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe not a lot.
I guess if I'm not putting him in there, I don't know.
I'll tell you who I put in there.
Huh?
I put Brad in there.
Wow.
And I am not. I have in previous drafts past not been the biggest fan of Brad's draft strategy.
The more I look at his team right now, the more I'm happy with it.
It's strong. It's
solid. It's stronger
solid.
than I was originally looking. I will say that
David Johnson is a good pick there at 6. It's a great pick. Juju is a fine pick in the middle of the second round.
Like I said, if David Johnson fell to me at 7 in a heartbeat, I was going to take him.
I'm not buying any of this, and people are big on LaShawn McCoy is going to take carries from Damian Williams. I'm not a big Damian Williams fan, but until I see otherwise, I think he's the guy.
Damian Williams looked good in preseason.
Yep.
Andy Reid's already said he expects LaShawn McCoy to play week 1.
Play is different than...
Sure, but I'm just saying...
play might be 6 to 12 carries.
It wouldn't surprise me, though, if LaShawn McCoy all of a sudden just wins that job. Because Damian Williams is not a legitimate starting running back. No, he's going to put up numbers in Kansas City's offense.
Right.
But
that's because there's 6 people in the box.
I might be able to put up numbers on Kansas City's offense.
There's 6 guys in the box.
It's like I run like a 5.240. I might be able to put up numbers there. Why
do you keep going undrafted then?
I don't know. I don't get it. But no, so Damian Williams, that LaShawn McCoy thing, it scares the hell out of me because taking him in the 3rd round when.
But he still has Phillip Lindsay, he has James White. Even Miles Sanders has upside.
That's part of those are part of things. Here's my thing. Hold on, am I doing this correctly? He could have had Aaron Jones.
Yes, he could have had Aaron Jones.
He could have had Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, both those would have been better picks.
I love Phillip Lindsay in the 5th.
I also love Amari Cooper in the 4th.
I would have liked to have taken Amari Cooper in the 4th.
Great pick.
I don't mind the pick. I'm not the biggest fan of Dak. So, Dak played a lot better with Amari Cooper last year.
That's
and if that rolls, then great. That's going to be a really, really good pick in the 4th. Because Amari Cooper has shown that he has that potential. But you got to remember last year, was it last year or 2 years ago that Darryl had him? And it was just he had a week where it's 30 points. And then it's stretches of weeks where he can't get a catch.
So
I feel like he can be a little.
This also touches on. And then again, all these things are linked. You talk about Ezekiel Elliott, obviously, whether or not 8 guys are going to be stacking the box is going to play a huge role in Amari Cooper's value in terms of how many double teams he sees. Whether or not a guy like Michael Gallup, who I got in the 13th or 12th or 13th round, whether he's going to have some upside to him.
Yeah, 12th round.
So all these things are connected. But we've kind of talked about our top 3 squads. Let's run down the bottom 3, the guys who really crap the bed. We probably agree on at least one of them, I would think.
I would like to think that we agree on at least one. I'm now looking at my sheet and realizing that I put 4 people in the bottom 3 because apparently all you guys are trash.
We can talk about it.
I'm gonna start it off with McMillan.
Okay. Here's why I didn't put him bottom 3. 10 through 12. I don't hate any of those picks, and I don't hate his first 2-round picks either.
LaShawn McCoy looks a lot better now.
Right, LaShawn McCoy looks better.
Literally, he didn't look great going into it for Buffalo.
No, it was a stupid pick for Buffalo.
A week later they cut him.
Right,
it was
stupid
not.
Pick.
It might
Frank Gore's going to be the Frank Gore. Who's the rookie out of Buffalo too? Both guys have upside.
I mean, you say that you don't like you like your 10 to 12. I don't like Kyler Murray in the 11th because he took Aaron Rodgers in the 6th.
That's true. I didn't even think about that. He has 2 quarterbacks. That's
two quarterbacks in the top 11 rounds.
I
got the number 3 quarterback at 12.
You can make a case for him now. Okay.
Matt Ryan was number 2, by the way, last year.
Yeah, buddy.
Just so you know.
I
forgot to tell you that.
I will tell you, I didn't have McMillan in my bottom 3, but I did not like Derrick Henry in the 3rd round. I think Zach Ertz also is going to have a regression, and I think for an early 4th rounder, I don't know.
I agree with Derrick. Everyone gave Z-back shit last year for taking Derrick Henry in the 2nd.
Yeah.
And then
this isn't much better.
This year, don't get me wrong, Derrick Henry had a really strong finish to the year. But you took Derrick Henry 6 picks later, 7 picks later, and it can't be that much better to take him that much earlier.
They say you can't win your fantasy football draft in your first 4 rounds, but you can absolutely lose it in your first 4 rounds.
Zach Ertz, I mean, I'm not going to complain about it in, the 4th round. I'm not complaining about it too much.
He's due for a regression.
Of course he's due for a regression. But, again, this is just my fantasy philosophy. Where did I take a tight end? I'm not taking one of the top 3 tight ends because I'm not going to invest the top 5 or 6 pick on a tight end
now.
I mean, just because obviously if you have one of the top 3, this is part of the reason why I wanted to.
That'll be the first bottom 3 team I talk
I wanted to up it to a full point. Top 3 tight ends are going to be top 3 tight ends. Everyone else, it's
a crapshoot.
It's a crapshoot.
Yep.
No, if we had made it a full point PPR, okay, maybe there's a couple more tight ends you feel more comfortable putting into your flex over a wide receiver, but you're not having any of that this year. His number 2 wide receiver is Mike Williams. I
don't love it.
I don't love it either. I can't say anything good about him.
But here's
is Mike Williams the number 2 wide receiver for the Chargers, or is it Tyrell Williams?
Fair point.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sitting over here with Brandon Cooks and Cooper Kupp, but I feel like
I also don't know what he's doing from pick 7 to 9. I'm not a big Robbie Anderson guy. I mean, I understand Sam
Jordan
Darnold,
Howard is in Philly now, I think.
Yeah, and then Dante Pettis.
Who is Dante Pettis?
I don't know. Actually, I don't know who he plays.
Does he play for the Calgary Stampeders? I don't know who
Joffrey
he is.
Reynolds, he's really good.
Yeah,
all right.
Like I said, LaShawn McCoy might be his saving grace.
Yeah, it might.
I will say that.
Because if not...
Kareem Hunt, probably not there.
He's not going to play.
He probably isn't going to even play. If he does play, it won't be until at least week 10. And if history's shown us anything, McMillan's going to be out of it before week 10. So...
I mean, he didn't crap the bed on his first and second round picks. And I think together his team... he might be okay. I don't have him in the bottom 3, but I see that you can make a case for it.
Yeah, I just don't like picks 3 through 5.
Talking about the tight end philosophy you were mentioning earlier. One of the guys I had in the top 3, I'm going to actually go into not only the bottom 3. One of the guys who not only is in my bottom 3, but also I think made the biggest reach in the draft is what I'm going to talk about right now.
Biggest reach in the draft.
I didn't
research too much into that. So
and bottom 3.
Let me take a quick look, really quick.
Go ahead, take your time. But while you're
doing that, you go ahead and tell me who you think who the biggest reach of the draft was.
So it's a bottom 3 team, and it's the biggest reach of the draft in my opinion.
Bottom 3
team, in my opinion, Zach Hall. And so I'm sorry.
Okay, no,
I'm sorry.
It's fine.
You know who I'm going to pick.
It's George Kittle.
It's George Kittle in the 2nd round. I get it's 19, but I'd honestly take Ertz over Kittle, and I certainly wouldn't take either of them at 19 when you have got Tyreek Hill available, Mike Evans available, Antonio Brown available.
This is one of the things I told Zach right after it happened. You could have had him in 2 picks. You could have had him in the 3rd. So you could have gotten that Tyreek Hill. You could have. I mean. I guess he got Antonio Brown anyways in the 3rd, so it doesn't matter there. I mean, obviously,
but you could have Antonio Brown and Tyreek Hill.
Adam Thielen was out there. Aaron Jones, Devontae Freeman,
And so what I'm saying is,
you gotta remember, look at everyone below him.
There's burning so many a second round pick on George Kittle.
I will say Zach knows it was too early. He sometime talking about it, he was like, yeah, that was probably. That was a reach.
Period. It's not as bad as drafting 2 kickers, which he's done. But it wasn't. It was the biggest reach of the draft, IMO. And so he's in my bottom 3 because I don't think... I mean, obviously, Lamar Miller's not his fault, but Lamar Miller is a thing he is going to deal with. And look at his running back core. Aside from Alvin Kamara, who obviously is a stud. I mean, there's no question.
Yeah, I mean, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, 2-3.
I like Matt Breida, but I don't like him as my flex running back.
So, no, obviously,
He has 3 running backs.
I have I also had Zach in my bottom 3. No, obviously the fact that he waited until the 7th round to draft his second running back, who then, was like, hey, whoa, hold on a second. You took me in the 7th? Just chop my knee off. Like, just let it go.
Take
it. That was a problem. Now you have Royce Freeman, who's going to be the backup to Phillip Lindsay. Maybe he splits time again this year. They split time.
The best case scenario is a
part.
QB committee that limits his upside to like a best case scenario flex play.
Obviously. Matt Breida, again, I liked how he's looked in preseason. He could be the third running back. It's the same thing. Same thing that I was talking about.
I like Breida.
Who were we talking about earlier? Who had another one of the San Francisco running backs?
We were talking about
Coleman.
Tevin Coleman
Darryl
for Darryl.
Tevin Coleman. Like, who knows where Tevin Coleman, Matt Breida, and if Jerick McKinnon supposedly is coming back,
he's injured. I think
he tore his ACL in week 1 of last year.
Right, but I think
So, he might be back for this season though. So who knows who's gonna take the lead in that backfield? So I don't like the fact that you're kind of depending upon Matt Breida right now. And
he's got a strong wide receiver
Something
core.
I want to throw out here, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, like how you feel about it. I made Zach a trade offer right after the injury to Lamar Miller.
Oh.
And I can't believe he didn't say yes to it.
Ooh, what was it?
And then after I thought about it more, I was like, no, I don't think I'm going to actually go. Like, I would continue to leave this out there because I don't think it's a good thing.
Offer.
I offered him Eric Ebron and Mark Ingram for George Kittle. I think I would be getting the worst end of that deal. Mark Ingram, again, I'm actually pretty high. As time has gone on, I've gotten more and more high on him. He's going to be the number 1 running back on a run-heavy team. And Eric Ebron, obviously, I think is going to get a little bit of a regression, but who knows actually where he's going to end up. Like I said, he was 4 last year. He could be anywhere from 4 to 20 this year.
I wouldn't pull the trigger there just because I don't have any shares of Eric Ebron. I think maybe if you make a trade like Ingram, and I don't think you would make this trade, but Ingram and Eckler or something like that.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, two starting running backs for a tight end.
Right, or even if it's an Ingram and like a Tony Pollard situation,
That's just too much risk for me, though.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, I'm not saying you make a trade, but I'm just saying like if it was like a double running back situation.
I'm just saying like if I was in his situation where I have
he
I literally have Alvin Kamara and nothing else.
He needs to do something.
Mark Ingram is like the best running back I feel like you're going to get on a trade.
He needs to do something, or he is going to be like behind the 8 ball running back.
I think obviously it's really tough to get rid of George Kittle when you burned a 2nd round pick on him. Like it's going to be really tough to like it's selling the farm after you bought it. Like when there's flood damage. Like, I mean, it's
all right. Well, it's the right thing to do, but it doesn't make my decision. I just bought the damn thing.
Yeah.
What about? So we agree on that one as our bottom 3. You had Jason McMillan in your bottom 3, so I'll do another one of mine then since we agreed on that one. And I think we're gonna probably agree on this too.
Okay.
It's got to be a window, right? I mean, like Le'Veon Bell at 5.
I do have.
I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry. He didn't get Le'Veon Bell at 5. Le'Veon Bell. Like, that's such a reach for him. You can make a case it's one of the biggest reaches of the draft.
I'm
not saying it's mine, but
I was going to say, when
it.
we were talking about reaches, we didn't really get too much into the reaches. We didn't extend that. I was going to say I honestly felt like Le'Veon Bell at 5 might have been one of the bigger reaches.
It's not my biggest, but it's like
huge,
top 3 for sure.
It's not huge.
It's a 5th pick.
It's the
David Johnson's on the board.
It's tough though because Le'Veon Bell, when he's played, has been a stud every single year. You got to remember, it's not like he got hurt. He just wasn't producing. He literally sat the whole year. I know that better than anyone. There's a reason I took him at 1 last year. I expect him to still be a running back 1, but the 5th pick when he's not playing for the Jets. A second-year quarterback.
Adam Guice is their new head coach, by the way, who throws the football. I've not seen Adam Guice in Miami go to a bell cow approach that's relevant for fantasy running backs. Jay Ajayi was one of the, and Kenyon Drake have never been an RB1. And you're asking Le'Veon Bell under Adam Guice with Sam Darnold throwing the ball to be an RB1. I understand
Le'Veon Bell is a much more talented.
He's a world-class talent, but it's a different offensive line too. James Conner stepped into that role and became an RB1 in Pittsburgh because of how good their offensive line is.
I agree with you. Also, having Ben Roethlisberger versus Sam Darnold, very, very different.
Huge difference.
Ben Roethlisberger is
huge difference.
Yeah,
and then
I will say this too, kind of to agree with your point. And that's kind of what I was about to say is Le'Veon Bell is really, really used to the Pittsburgh foundation.
Yeah.
You had Antonio, you had Antonio Brown. it's really hard to say he wasn't seeing 8-man boxes because I'm sure he was, but anytime they do that, you got one-on-one with Antonio Brown. It's tough for teams to do that.
Right.
Having said that, you also have to remember, he hasn't played football in a year.
Yep.
Like, there are people who talk about, when they miss camp, not being ready for the season. You're talking about missing an entire year's
season.
worth of... It's going to be a weird dynamic for him to step back into a starting running back role and just be ready physically.
Yep, and mentally.
In the most physically demanding position.
Yep.
Like, you're gonna get hit 300 times.
So to kind of dovetail back, I don't hate Joe Mixon in the second. I don't hate Patrick Mahomes in the fourth. But then you go on and you see Josh Jacobs, O.J. Howard. I think is a risky pick in the 6th round. Josh Gordon in the 7th. Josh Gordon's another guy who might not even play. Might get high and decide, fuck it, I'm gonna be on the commissioner's ban list again. Like. And so
I like Joe Mixon. I like Keenan Allen. I'm
fine with Mahomes.
I'm okay with liking Bill. I feel like he could have gotten Mahomes in the 5th though. Like, I guess maybe just because of the way I ended up drafting so much. Like, I sat here every single pick. I think the only one that I really reached on was Tony Pollard.
Yeah, you absolutely reached for him. But other than that,
I felt like I did that. But outside of that, I felt like I got good value for everything.
Yeah, I don't see any reaches.
Anything that is a reach, it might not end up being a
little
reach.
high on Will Fuller than I would have gone, but I get it.
9th round. I don't want to circle back to my team too much on all this because I know I've talked about it more than I probably should have already. We're trying to talk about 10 teams. I feel like I've, but I don't know. Like Patrick Mahomes, I feel like he could have gotten him in the 5th. And then on his 5th pick, who's Josh Jacobs?
I'll say Josh Jacobs, O.J. Howard, and Josh Gordon. You can't waste rounds 5 through 7. There are some still great value guys available.
Sterling Shepard in the 8th.
James White could have been his pick in the 5th. He could have gone Mark Ingram. Well, I guess he couldn't go Mark Ingram at that point. But there were still guys available in the 6th. Like, if he wants to, let me look. Lamar Miller before the injury, obviously. Austin Eckler's still available. D.D. Westbrook, DJ Moore. There are guys who.
There's a lot of good picks. I don't like the O.J. Howard. I don't like the O.J. Howard pick. I don't like the Josh Gordon pick. I don't like the Sterling Shepard pick.
No,
who's Kenyon Drake playing for?
The Miami Dolphins.
Oh, is he still there?
Did you see on ESPN? There's an article. Go look up on ESPN. There's an article talking about
Deshaun Jackson's
the
back
simulated NFL season. The Miami Dolphins in the simulated NFL season on ESPN they play for the division title in Week 17 against the Patriots. Kid you not, look it up. That's
crazy.
I need to find the weed guy for the simulator for ESPN because he has got some great shit. That's crazy. How drunk is ESPN's simulator to put the Dolphins in the playoff picture come Week 17? That's ridiculous. They're going to be 4-12. If they're 8-8, it's our playoffs. But Kenyon Drake will get numbers. He'll be fine. He'll put up like 700 yards.
I guess my big thing is I'm not taking anybody on the Dolphins right now.
Devontae Parker, I could see some like late round upside. I could see him being a waiver wire pickup. Also,
again, another thing, like there's certain people that I'm not going to knock other people for taking, but I didn't have a single Miami Dolphin anywhere near my radar.
I get it.
That's just me.
So we talked about Window. We talked about Zach. You talked about Jason McMillan. I'll round out my last bottom 3 pick with the other Jason Smith. And
do you make that decision pre or post Andrew Luck deciding to just say fuck the Colts?
It's post. It is,
which is totally understandable because again,
it's not fair to Jason because it's not necessarily his fault. But I don't think he did himself any favors with his late round picks. I think he completely wasted after round 10. He completely stopped trying, and so like.
I don't hate the Dion Lewis pick.
That's the only one that has any upside to it whatsoever. Like just looking at his draft, obviously McCaffrey's the right pick at 3.
Yeah.
I don't hate Kelsey.
Again, I wouldn't have taken a tight end in the second round, but I'm not going to knock it.
I don't hate it there. He's the number 1
Kelsey's going to be the number 1 tight end. Like I'm not blaming Jason for doing that.
And I don't even hate Kerryon Johnson. I even like Chris Godwin. I think he got value in Chris Godwin, and I think in the 9th round, AJ Green is a value pick. But aside from those 2 picks, right? I don't see value in his roster. No,
absolutely. I agree with that. Like he didn't get a ton of value in a lot of his picks.
T.Y. Hilton's a reach at 23. And is before Andrew Luck goes out, and now that Andrew Luck's done, it's just
I
it
agree.
just sets him behind the 8 ball.
I agree with you because look at the wide receivers who even just the two that went in the third round behind T.Y. Hilton.
Keenan Allen, Adam Thielen, both I would have picked before him.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, and Kalen Ballage, I'm sorry, like Lamar Miller will have fantasy relevance. Kalen, I'm a Miami fan. I wouldn't have picked him at the 10th round. Maybe like the 12th, but the 10th. There are guys available who do have value. There are guys available, you know. I just don't like that pick. And then Peyton Barber. What's the upside there?
Kalen Ballage is on the Texans?
No, he's the Dolphins' backup running back.
Oh, you said Lamar Miller will have value.
I'm sorry, I was thinking of...
Okay, that's why I was confused.
I was thinking of Kenyon Drake.
Oh, okay, cool. That's fine. I was a little confused.
Bloopers!
Like, honestly, I don't know who Kalen Ballage is, so...
He's the backup Dolphins running back. But here's the thing, too.
But again, a backup in the 10th round.
Peyton Barber...
There are wide receivers out there that you
I drafted Ronald Jones in the 14th at the turn. He has at least upside. He has at least potential to do something in the season. What's the case for drafting Peyton Barber and then Ito Smith, who doesn't even play for anymore?
I believe he's still he's going to be the backup for the Falcons.
That sounds lucrative.
He was always that third option behind Tevin Coleman.
Yeah, because we want a third running back. I'm sure
he'll be the second this year, behind Devontae Freeman. Essentially, if you're looking at it as taking like a handcuff pick in the 13th round, isn't the worst thing in the world.
I don't see any upside.
I'm not saying it.
Even if he wins the starting job.
Again, I'm not saying that there's going to be a ton of upside. I'm saying that Devontae Freeman has been injury prone the last couple of years. Again, I think I got about 10 fucking minutes out of him last year. And Darryl and Nick took him in the third, and in the 13th round, they got the backup. Ito Smith will be the only running back left if Devontae Freeman gets hurt.
I don't see much value in Jason Smith's picks.
I agree with you.
Let's talk about... So I told you, and we kind of talked about top 3, bottom 3. I told you what I thought was the biggest reach in Kittle. What do you think the biggest reach of the draft is?
The biggest reach?
Someone who just went way above there where you had them in your rankings.
I think we already talked about it a little bit. The biggest one right now that I've looked at and is jumping out to me... I mean, if we knew Melvin Gordon's situation when we did, obviously Melvin Gordon in the 4th would be the obvious pick. We didn't know quite the extent of
the holdout.
The real extent of his holdout where he's probably not going to play this season.
I don't think you can say probably not going to play. I'd give it a 50-50-ish.
Okay, I will still say that the most recent thing that I've heard is that they say they will not discuss his contract until in the offseason, and you're free to go look for
I did see that he is free to explore trade.
If he ends up somewhere else,
a trade could be huge.
That trade could be huge. He might end up as the 4th pick, but who knows? He might just...
But even if he doesn't get traded, they're not... I think the contract talks have stalled.
You know what I'm surprised about? That the Houston Texans didn't make a play for him.
That's... Well, and there's still...
blows my mind.
There's still also a lot of free agents. Like, again, Jay Ajayi is a free agent right now, running back. Just saying. Like, there are guys, if you look at the undrafted free agents right now, or the unsigned free agents, there are a lot of decent running backs on that list that actually have starting NFL experience. But if you look at, the running back situation, I really don't... With Melvin Gordon, I don't know. I think if the Chargers by week 3, week 4, they're 2-2 or even 1-3, they're in win now mode. They're not in a rebuild mode. They have Phillip Rivers towards the end of his career. They have enough skilled players. They should make a run this year for the playoffs, and they know their window is closing, not opening.
Obviously, with Phillip Rivers on his way out. But I will say
you have to. That will get them to the negotiation.
Don't you think that the Cowboys and Zeke are in the exact same position?
Oh yeah, and I think Zeke's a safer pick.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I feel like Zeke is going to be there.
Chargers are similar too in terms of they need to be in the playoff picture. So let's talk about risk. The riskiest pick in the draft. I'll start.
Is there a huge difference in the biggest risk and the biggest
There
reach?
is. Well, reach is taking someone way above their ADP in terms of, like I said, George Kittle.
Okay, if you're going to sit here and talk about biggest
risk, it's Zeke.
Or Melvin Gordon.
It is Zeke or Melvin
obviously,
Gordon. But
out of this point, I think Melvin Gordon in the 4th is a bigger risk.
Well, I think Melvin Gordon has a less chance to sign, but I think the value of Zeke as a first rounder.
I don't even know if it's that big. When you're talking about risk, you're talking about the risk versus the reward of it. And again, if I was at 4, so funny story, in another league that I'm doing, kind of a bullshit league, I let my team auto draft and I got Zeke at the 3rd pick. It's like, what the fuck is happening?
That sucks.
It auto picked it. No, that's a huge risk at 3.
You do have a top
At
3 fantasy
7?
team name it with "Please God make me sign." That was great.
It hasn't worked yet.
No, it is
But
not.
no, so I think it's 7.
Don't you remember your old fantasy
I don't think
team
it's
name?
that big.
Prayers don't work.
Yeah, prayers don't work.
Le'Veon on a prayer that he tears his ACL. Prayers don't work.
Prayers don't work. No, so I mean, you can sit here and say it's the biggest risk of the draft, but I honestly think, like, without a question, the biggest risk of the draft has to be Melvin Gordon at 4.
In the 4th round.
Like I said, like, again, maybe you and I aren't on the biggest agreement, but the way I read that newest update for Melvin Gordon being not going to talk about his contract till the season is over, and oh, by the way, you can go and look for trades. It makes me think he's not going to play for the Chargers again. Like, no, it'd be one thing if they said, look, we're not discussing your contract until the season is over. Period, point blank. If you want to hold out, you hold out. You can always franchise tag him next year. That's a thing that can happen. The fact that they said, they put that caveat at the end, go look for a trade. They don't care if they have him.
They're about $3 million apart in negotiations the last time.
It's tough.
And it is tough.
Like,
but I
Melvin Gordon, he's had injury issues. He really doesn't, like, he hasn't had that many seasons like where he gets over 1,000 yards. You know all of his value because he gets the red zone looks. He scores touchdowns. No, Austin Eckler can get you touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly think that they don't think that they're that big of a drop-off between Melvin Gordon to Austin Eckler that it's worth paying him. But what does he want, $10, $11 million a year?
But again,
that's crazy.
That calculus is all dependent on how they do first 4 weeks of the season.
I agree.
Because nothing will get them in the negotiating room faster than them dropping games they should win. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects it.
They still got a good defense. They still got Phillip Rivers. They got a number 1 wide receiver in Keenan Allen. Austin Eckler is not Melvin Gordon, but Austin Eckler can play.
Yeah, he's serviceable.
Like, I'm actually really thrilled with the possibility of starting him.
His value goes up every single day, and that's actually going to be a huge kind of variable with regard to, you have 2 guys who are backups right now. Who are starting, and that's going to be a big kind of game changer with regard to how does that affect your early season performance. But let's talk about the biggest steal of the draft, the best value pick, the thing where someone got a huge value.
There's 2 that jump out to me from the start. Trying to see if there's anybody later that kind of...
I got 2 as well.
You might have the same 2.
There are a lot you can make a case for. I think you can make a case for... I mean, I like certain guys like AJ
right.
Green. I like the pick there.
One in particular I think we're both going to agree with is Jarvis Landry in the 9th.
Huge. I mean, we already talked about that.
Yeah, we've already talked about it. Like, I still don't understand how he was still there.
Yeah, it's a great pick. And I'm actually going to stay on the same team. And we talked about
Another one, same team, really.
Cam Newton. That's why I have Alex in my top 3, because I think Cam Newton, you can make a case he should be drafted before other quarterbacks that were ahead of him. I like Jared Goff, and I'm fine with Jared Goff being drafted before him, but like Carson Wentz, Dak Prescott, I was my backup QB. I kind of crapped the bed there a little bit. I should have probably picked up Cam Newton because Cam Newton is, I think, one of the few guys, that were drafted so late that have potential to be like a top 6, 7, 8 at your position kind of guy.
So I guess
he won you a championship.
He won me a championship in 2012.
He's still the guy. I mean, he's a rushing touchdowns.
He's a guy who had to have a backup quarterback come in to throw a Hail Mary last year.
Yeah, but there are 2 guys in the league and in the NFL right now who I think, like, when they get to a first and goal situation, they're always thinking, it's a QB keeper, and it's Cam Newton and Dak Prescott.
But that wasn't a thing last year.
It wasn't last year.
Last year it was we're gonna force
Christian McCaffrey into the ground.
Is gonna get run into the ground this year, but I don't see that changing. He's gonna be on the field for every offensive snap, and Cam Newton is gonna be. It's gonna be one of those situations where Cam Newton, you have an amazing ability to hand Christian McCaffrey the ball.
Yeah,
that's what it is. And hey, I didn't hand it to you this time. I faked it to you so I could throw you the screen. Like, that's what's gonna happen with Christian McCaffrey this year.
Get the ball to Christian.
Yeah, just give him the ball. It'll be fine.
I will say
the biggest reason I don't think that that's like the biggest steal of the draft, like, is simply because I don't think people drafting quarterbacks earlier than they should makes drafting him later in a more appropriate range as a big steal. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, obviously he got better value out of Cam Newton at 12 than Baker Mayfield in the 8th round, Carson Wentz in the 8th round. Like, obviously I think he got better value. I don't think it's like the biggest steal of the draft because hey, look.
I mean,
I took Cam Newton when I was supposed to.
I get that it's a 12th round pick, so like it's harder to judge. And there are a bunch of other great value picks. I like where Chris Godwin went. I liked where Chris Carson went. I liked where AJ Green went. I liked where James White went.
A lot of ninth round in that range.
And LaShawn McCoy obviously has tremendous upside.
So I was going to say LaShawn McCoy, now that he has transitioned over to Kansas City, could definitely become the steal of the draft.
McMillan stumbled into
He really did. I thought it was a terrible pick taking
it was.
In the 12th round because a week later he gets cut by Buffalo. But then, hey, by the way, he just happens to land in the best offense he could possibly land in.
Yeah.
Number one offense, best quarterback, best weapons, number one wide receiver to take the top off the defense. It's just the perfect situation for LaShawn McCoy to step into.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to not go with that one just because that's such a new development. I still really, really like James's pick of Darius Guice in the 9th. Jay Gruden is in love with him. They wanted him to be on the field for every single snap.
Yeah.
He didn't catch the ball a whole lot in college. They didn't really use him in the passing game, but he can catch the ball. He looks great. I love the pick. Again, I don't like the Adrian Peterson to pick 2 picks later, but I love Darius Guice in the 9th. I think he could end up being an RB1. And if you get an RB1 in the 9th round,
here's my problem.
You're doing something great.
Who are they starting at quarterback?
I believe the starter going into the season is going to be Case Keenum.
And
I think in about week 3 it'll be Dwayne Haskins.
How many guys are going to be in that box?
There could be a good amount.
That's my problem. It's not about Darius Guice.
I like Darius Guice's upside.
Love the player. He could hate the fantasy situation.
I would be, if you want to throw in another bet here, I bet the Darius Guice.
We got to reenact that.
If he stays healthy, I think Darius Guice is an RB2. At least an RB2, if he stays healthy.
A top 20.
I think he finishes top 20 if he stays healthy.
I'm not going to take that bet because I don't feel confident. But we will reenact. We had a bet earlier in the unrecorded 20 minutes of the podcast we started, and then I didn't actually record earlier, that whether the Cleveland Browns or the Pittsburgh Steelers will win the AFC North. I went with the Browns, he went with the Steelers. So we have $20 riding on that. Could
just be a slap bet. A gentleman's agreement.
I don't want to get slapped again because we already have the one slap bet that I'm not feeling that confident on.
You're not feeling that confident on the Browns winning the AFC?
I feel more confident in that, but I still just $20. Just
all right, $20.
All right,
that's what you want. Put it on the board.
Keyshawn.
Okay, I will say I'm going to say the biggest reach of the draft might have been Keyshawn Johnson.
That was the best. That was the funniest moment of the draft because we were both like, "Did you really just draft Keyshawn Johnson?" No, for real, Keyshawn Johnson.
Keyshawn Johnson, put it on the board. No, I will say that obviously I didn't have to draft him. I could have gotten him on waivers. Nobody knew about him.
Yeah.
He's probably going to start the season as number 4 wide receiver in Kansas City. I honestly think he's going to finish like Larry Fitzgerald is old.
Too many mouths to feed.
In Arizona?
Oh.
No, I think he's going to start off as the number 4. I think he's going to start off as the number 4 wide receiver in Arizona to start the season. I think he's going to be a top 2, if not the number 1 by the end of the year.
We'll see. Let's talk about one last thing before we go into predictions.
Okay.
So obviously we had the losses of Lamar Miller. Zach losing his 6th round. I'm sorry.
That was his
7th round.
It was 7th round. Again, it's weird because Lamar Miller in the 7th. Isn't that terrible a pick? It's really, but it's a bad pick when he's your second running back.
Well, it sucks when he's your second running back, and then it sucks even more when he tears his ACL the night after
literally 6 hours later.
So is that a bigger loss than what JC Smith is dealing with regard to not only losing Andrew Luck, but obviously how does that affect T.Y. Hilton's value? And we talked earlier in the deleted segment about the ripples of the Andrew Luck retirement.
Yeah.
How does that affect Marlon Mack's value? How does that affect Andrew Luck's value? T.Y. Hilton's value? How does that affect Eric Ebron's value?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think
which one hurts more, or is there something else that you think hurts more? We obviously like
Zach losing Lamar Miller hurts the most there. There hasn't been too many things like that where people are losing value altogether out of players.
So I
think Zach losing Lamar Miller hurts more because who is his next running back? Right now it's Matt Breida, who might be the 3rd running back in San Francisco. He needs a running back. That's
his RB2 probably, honestly.
That's what I'm saying. It's a really, really tough spot for Zach to be in, especially because we're now 3 days from game day, 4 days from game day, and he hasn't made a trade. He hasn't picked anybody else up. He's got to figure something out because he needs a starting running back in week 1. Obviously, so I don't think losing Andrew Luck by himself is that big of a loss. I think losing what did he take him in the 8th round? Losing your 8th round slot is the bigger problem there, because you could have had so many other people. Again, I think you could have gotten Andrew Luck in the 10th round.
They're both...
I don't like drafting quarterbacks so early, and this is what we were talking about earlier. I don't know if this was on the recorded part or not, but I like the idea of making it a 2-quarterback league just because it makes it so you actually have to draft quarterbacks at a reasonable spot.
Please don't do this, because every time... I'm in a 2-quarterback league, and I can't stand how early quarterbacks are drafted in that league. Patrick Mahomes being a first-round pick, in my opinion, in the league shouldn't happen. Fantasy football should be about running backs and wide receivers. If you want to do something to tinker with the scoring, we were talking about the tight end thing, I'm more amenable to that. But the 2-quarterback league, it just makes it so that quarterbacks go so early. I feel like it makes it almost the value almost ridiculous for quarterbacks early.
It does make them a lot higher. I do think that it would create a really weird draft process to have it be 2 quarterbacks. But it's not even 2 quarterbacks would drastically change how people play this game that much, because there's actually 5 years ago, 6 years ago, of the 32 NFL teams, there were maybe 16 people who you're comfortable having as your quarterback.
Right.
That number's
20,
you're 23, 24,
now,
possibly 25 quarterbacks.
There are a lot of guys.
There's so many good quarterbacks.
Lamar Jackson's a fine, late round addition.
Exactly. Now, tell me this right now. More than 10 quarterbacks were drafted, obviously, right?
Oh, yeah.
Drew Brees and Russell Wilson went undrafted.
That's so crazy.
You're talking about 15, 16 quarterbacks were drafted, and 2 guys who finished in the top 10 at quarterback last year didn't get drafted.
I have shares of Russell Wilson in other leagues, and I got to tell you, Drew Brees I get a little bit, because there is going to be regression again there. I think New Orleans is a fading star, but you look at Russell Wilson's a guy who has upside this year, has QB1 certainly potential, and a decent QB1, 6, 7, something like that, and he's not drafted. That's wild.
That's what I'm saying.
I will say this. I actually disagree with you, only because I think T.Y. Hilton is going to become... I wouldn't have picked him there, we talked about this, as opposed to Keenan Allen or Adam Thielen. I think this loss... Matthew Berry was talking, it's not going to affect his value, he's still going to be about there. I disagree. I think it drops his value about at least 10, if not 20 picks. It drops his ADP. And I think
it drops his ADP. I don't know if it's T.Y. Hilton is still T.Y. Hilton. I think it's going to be a drop-off. I don't know if it's going to be...
Jacoby Brissett. You're going from a Pro Bowl quarterback to Jacoby Brissett. And I'm sorry, but honestly, if you're talking about you're talking about one team lost a 7th-round pick who's already in our running back hell. I get Zach's in running back hell. But you're talking about a 3rd-round pick turning into a 5th-round pick and losing an 8th-round pick versus just losing a 7th-round pick. It's that's the loss that hurts more, in my opinion. And I think you make a case either way.
So, again, I definitely agree that you can make a case either way. It is losing that 8th pick for someone that a lot of things you could have had. It does drop T.Y. Hilton's value down.
Well, and I gotta tell you,
the biggest reason why I think that it affects Zach more is because Zach drafted so poorly.
Yeah, he really
not taking a second running back until round 7. Now you're talking about your next running back was round 9, I believe.
Royce Freeman in the 9th
round. Royce Freeman, who's probably going to be a backup.
Yeah, he saved it a little bit with Breida, but he's still in running back.
But again, Breida might not even be the starter. It's so up in the air.
Yeah.
Tevin Coleman could win that job.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know. I don't really follow San Francisco football too much. I feel like I have a general grasp on a lot of players, but I cannot tell you right now who, if you looked at a depth chart online, who would be in the number 1 spot for the San Francisco 49ers right now.
Yeah. So we got to talk before we wrap up, because we're already an hour into this podcast. We're actually making decent time.
No one's gonna watch this.
They're gonna watch it. You fuckers better watch this with the amount of effort.
I expected this to be 15 minutes, and then it's something reasonable to watch. There's
no
way anyone's watching
the whole point of this, just so we're all clear, the whole point of this is if you want to watch it, absolutely watch it, and watch it while if you're JC McMillan masturbating alone. Watch it if you're Zach, watch it as you're, ruining some other fantasy football draft you're in. But if you want to watch in your spare time, go ahead and do that. But if you just want to play in the car, on your commute to work, that's how I do my podcast. And anyway, that's neither here nor there. So with that being said, the last thing we really got to cover is Week 1 predictions. And obviously, we talked about this. We're not going to predict our own matchups. Well, we talked about that, in text messages earlier. We're not going to predict our own matchups.
I'm picking myself to beat James.
Okay. Well, we're not going to predict our own matchups because we're not going to have any homerism bias, any kind of selection bias here. We're going to try to be fair and impartial. It is decided. Reason will prevail.
Mm-hmm.
Week 1 predictions, I got to tell you, the schedule worked out so nicely in my opinion, because I think your matchup with James has playoff potential and playoff implications down the road. I think you guys are going to be in the playoff conversation come season's end. Darryl and Nick versus me is such a fun matchup because Darryl and I have such a history. When the schedule was set up, the same every year, Darryl and I play each other Week 1 every year, it felt like. And so we're I would say we're fantasy rivals, and I look forward to that matchup every year. McMillan and Alex, the Battle of Hagerstown. Zach versus Smith, the battle of, wasted picks, if you will, in Lamar Miller and Andrew Luck. And Brad versus Window, the battle of, Brad is not new, I guess, compared to...
I guess he's been around
he's been around a little while.
He's been here for
but Window, the newbie, playing, Brad, who's been around a little while. And so, let's talk about each one, and we'll start with Darryl and Nick versus myself. I'll let you take the lead on it.
I guess I have to initially give you the nod. No Melvin Gordon is going to hurt. Again, I really don't like their picks 6 through 8, so they don't have the depth.
It's the Melvin Gordon thing.
The Melvin Gordon thing is the Melvin Gordon thing is too much. And I don't know how I feel about throwing Baker Mayfield into that Week 1 matchup. And again, who's his flex?
You're looking at...
Is it Tevin Coleman? Is it Emmanuel
Probably
Sanders?
Tevin Coleman. It has because
again, it's a PPR, half-point PPR. Is it going to be Emmanuel Sanders?
Could be Emmanuel Sanders.
Larry Fitzgerald?
I don't think it's Larry
I don't know, but like I said, mostly it's the Melvin Gordon thing.
Yeah, it's
I also did have you in the top 3, so I'm gonna obviously
stick to your guns.
I'm gonna lean to that a little bit, and it actually helps a lot not having Melvin Gordon. So
well, I appreciate you picking my team because I am not picking your team to win, and it's nothing personal. I like your team, but for the same reason that you are not.
Austin Eckler, Tony Pollard.
Austin Eckler, you have, I think, a better chance to win than I think Darryl and Nick do against me. But it's just you're missing your first round pick. You have guys. You have enough serviceable guys you could win. Absolutely.
I know you said you don't want us picking. I think I'm going to win.
I get it. I'm just. My point is just that you're literally playing potentially without your first round pick, your 7th overall pick.
And I did that last year, and I finished
last place.
This close for I finished in last place. And how did my first 6 weeks go? I was 3rd in points scored through 6 weeks.
You did have...
I got unlucky. We all know that.
Here we go. You did get your ass beat up and down the schedule. But I think that's a huge loss early on.
Obviously.
So let's talk about the battle for Hagerstown. This is McMillan versus Alex in what I think is going to be a rivalry between the two of them, given the proximity, given that they're probably closer to each other than anyone else in the league aside from myself.
These are two teams that I also had in the bottom. So,
what do you think?
I feel like I'm probably leaning towards McMillan.
Wow.
I know. It's a surprise. I like particularly his top 2 picks a little bit better. James Conner, OBJ versus Devontae Adams, Dalvin Cook. I don't like Derrick Henry, but I also don't like Marlon Mack. Obviously, McMillan gets the tight end nod.
But here's my problem.
Aaron Rodgers over... Who is his quarterback? Cam Newton? I don't know. I think there's just a little bit... There's a few of those pieces that I like a little bit more from McMillan than Alex. I'm going to go with McMillan.
I still think there is going to be a time, at least initially, where OBJ and Baker Mayfield are developing chemistry. I mean, obviously, he's already got that
Definitely
chemistry with Jarvis Landry, but they're still adjusting to each other, I'm sure. I mean, I know OBJ is a mercurial talent. Like, he's a top 5 receiver, certainly. But I think Alex has the slight edge. I think Zach Ertz really, you have to see a downtick in his production. He massively overachieved last season, and I think you're going to...
No, obviously I think it is. I think that he just gets he has the better tight end.
Yeah. I mean, he does, but if you're asking me who I think the skill position...
I think this will be the lowest scoring matchup of the week.
We can make a case for you.
So...
What about, how do you feel about the battle of throwaway picks? The battle of...
Brad and Window.
No, the Zach is...
Sorry, I thought we jumped around. I thought we skipped down there, my bad.
The battle of throwaway, like
Zach
Lamar Miller
and
versus
Jason.
Andrew Luck. I mean, they're both kind of reeling from those variables after the draft.
Yeah, obviously this is a thing that we literally just extensively went into on who we thought lost more.
Yeah.
You thought Jason lost more. I thought Zach lost more. So unless Zach makes some type of move for a running back, I'm going to have to think that Jason's going to win this matchup.
I mean...
it's tough.
I do think...
He needs a running back, but I do like his wide receivers a whole lot more. Honestly, it really could just come down to Christian McCaffrey versus Alvin Kamara on who has the bigger day.
And that's one of the things I noted was, like, both of them have top 3 running backs who really should have big games, and that matchup is probably going to carry the day. But, the difference maker, the X factor in my eyes that gives the nod to Zach, in my opinion, is Deshaun Watson. I think the Laramie Tunsil trade from Miami, and I do think Miami ended up winning that trade with the amount of value they got in terms of... I mean, they basically got a quarterback value out of Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills, who are going to be on, like, 1-year deals and then go get big contracts elsewhere. But Laramie Tunsil is a huge upgrade for Deshaun Watson's blind side.
So, I agree that he is a huge upgrade, but they gave up so much.
For the future.
They mortgaged the future for that.
But for this year, for Deshaun Watson in week 1, I think he's that... I mean, where did he get him? He got him in the late 6th round. Deshaun Watson's probably a 5th round pick with Laramie Tunsil, IMO.
I mean, maybe.
And
I will say this too, though. Jason, he did get Russell Wilson off of waivers.
Okay, did he?
Yeah, he did. Could very easily be. Also, Jason has changed his team name to Just My Luck.
By the way, that is the best team name.
I was thinking of
that's hysterical.
Tell me how you feel about it. Maybe I'm just thinking I'm much more clever than I am. But in another league, I was getting ready to change my team name to Luck's Retirement Plan. I don't know.
Good.
Maybe I just think I'm more clever than I am.
I will say that Just My Luck for Jason Smith is arguably one of the best team names I've ever seen. I love that team name. But I give the nod in week 1 to Zach.
Okay. I kind of figured that's how that matchup split was going to go.
With what we talked about with the biggest loss. Last matchup, Brad versus Window.
This one isn't too tough for me to pick out.
I mean, Window, we talked about being in the bottom 3.
We both talked about Brad being... You initiated it, and I agreed with Brad in the top 3. So I feel pretty comfortable just calling out Brad. Is going to be as the winner, put it on the board.
Sorry, rookie. I mean, and it is kind of a battle of... In so many of these matchups, you see the skill positions, running back, wide receiver, that really carries the day.
Exactly. Who knows? We could literally just watch Patrick Mahomes go out there and drop a 40-burger on Brad to start the season.
He is the one guy who really can just go for 40 any given Sunday.
That's just it. Sometimes that's what you need is just that quarterback who's going to go off. That's how I won my title with Cam Newton. I know that has been a thing that's happened every year where there's that one quarterback who just hey, by the way, I'm just going to drop 30 every week for some reason. I mean, last year for the first 3 weeks of the season, it was Ryan Fitzpatrick and who knows?
So
isn't Ryan Fitzpatrick going to be the starter for the Dolphins?
He is.
Got to get that Fitzmagic.
I don't hate it. I don't hate the long-term plan for Miami with regard to. This is really fantasy related, but Ryan Fitzpatrick will get his ass beaten up and down the NFL every single week and will probably lead the league in sacks. But the benefit of that is he'll actually win some games just because he has monster games every once in a while. And it's not hitting Josh Rosen, who I don't want to become a battered spouse kind of quarterback. Do
you think they're just going to sit him for the year?
No, they absolutely should sit him for the year and don't let him take those hits. This is the rebuild. If you're going to rebuild, do it right. You know, I'm not saying tank.
I'm just saying you
win the games you can win, but
you
protect
you get to 1-4. People are going to start to want to see. Hey, we gave up a first round pick for this guy. We might
protect your value. Let him play behind a better offensive line next season, and then with by the way, with a lot of first round. I mean, we have 2 first round picks next year, 2 in 2021. We have an arsenal of draft picks we can use in the future, and you have Josh Rosen. He's on essentially what is a 3-year, $6 million deal, you know, because Arizona ate $11 million of the $17 million.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I will
say it was a steal for the Dolphins.
Yeah.
To get
do the rebuild
Josh
right.
Rosen. But I agree with you. Overall, I agree with you, but it happens every year. Someone takes a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
Okay, you get to be 1-4. What happens? People want to see the kid play.
I get it.
And he didn't play particularly great.
Dolphins
in Arizona,
fans will want Rosen in, but I also think Ryan Flores will not take shit in his first year. I mean, he's a New England guy.
I mean, if it's his first year, he's going to have a little bit of wiggle room. It's not like they're going to.
He's not on the hot seat.
There's a reason that in Houston he's making all these crazy moves. It's because he knows that he has to win right this second, or he's out the door.
Well, and also, like the bottom line is Flores has more wiggle room. Stephen Ross is committed to the rebuild. But anyway. That's our podcast. So we hope you guys have enjoyed it. We'll be doing this. I think we're going to try to do it weekly if we can. I know the scheduling's tight.
I should be a little bit better once my training gets done, so we should be able to work it out.
I'd also like to get...
I don't expect them all to be this long, though.
Yeah, I mean, this was a big one because we had a lot to break down with regard to the draft.
True.
More often than not, every week will just be kind of updates on the matchups that were and the matchups that will be between every week and some of the trade, we'll break down trades or free agent signings, I'm sure. I'd also like to, take an opportunity to get, some of you guys on the podcast too, if you'd like to Skype in or something like that. Do a little kind of, week by week analysis and bring somebody else in.
I'll be all right with that.
So that's kind of the game plan I had for this, but I hope you guys have enjoyed it. And that's basically it for the post-draft analysis. Good luck in week 1. And don't forget, there is a week 1 league event that I know you won't be at, but Darryl will be here from Las Vegas. So
how long is Darryl sticking around, though?
I think he's in town from today. Is today the 3rd or the 2nd?
Today is the 2nd.
I think he comes into town tomorrow and is here until Sunday or Monday, the 9th.
Okay, so not enough to be here for week 2.
No, but he is here for week 1. Even if we did like a Thursday night game or Sunday like an afternoon. Or
I might be able to work out
Monday night.
I might be able to work out Thursday or Monday.
Monday.
But
I think Darryl leaves on Monday though. I don't know.
Okay, well I might be able to work out Thursday.
This is also great for the podcast, I'm sure. So, like I said, hope you guys have enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts and good luck in week 1. So
suck it.
Yeah. Sweet.